Black undercover CEO told to get out by airline staff. Minutes later, he fires everyone. In a world where power wears no badge, a man moves unseen among the very halls that shape our skies. He is not who they think he is. A shadow beneath the fluorescent hum of an airport terminal, he steps forward, disguised, determined, a ghost slipping through the cracks of routine. Suddenly, a voice slices through the tension, cold, unyielding, "Get out." Those two words fall like a verdict, sealing his fate in that moment. No explanations. No hesitation. Just the sharp finality of rejection. The room stills. Time fractures. The bustling crowd blurs into silence as eyes lock on him. Some curious, others wary, but all oblivious to the storm about to break. Surveillance lenses swivel, capturing every heartbeat, every breath. A silent jury witnessing a pivotal act in a play they can't yet comprehend. What they don't see, what they cannot grasp, is the ripple beneath the surface. This man, cast aside, is a catalyst. His expulsion is the spark that could ignite a revolution in an industry bound by tradition, shackled by complacency. Imagine a world where the very airliners that connect continents are rewritten, not by executives behind closed doors, but by a single mind daring to defy the status quo. What if that cold dismissal was not the end, but the beginning of a reckoning that could alter the course of travel forever? Beneath the sterile walls and the murmurs of the crowd lies a story untold, a tale of power, silence, and the invisible forces that dictate our journeys. And this man, he is about to change everything. Long before the polished boardrooms and glass towers, there was a young man with nothing but a suitcase full of dreams and a heart weighed down by invisible chains. The airport, usually a gateway to possibility, had become a cold battleground, a stage where he faced something much heavier than missed flights. He stood at the check-in counter, hope flickering in his eyes, only to be met with dismissive glances and whispered judgments. Not because of what he carried, but because of who he was, an invisible target of a silent, systemic prejudice. The airline's indifference wasn't just policy, it was a razor slicing through his dignity. That moment, raw, jagged, unforgettable, wasn't just a setback. It was a crucible. Every denied boarding pass, every sideways look, every bitter word built a fire inside him. The heartbreak wasn't quiet. It screamed through the hollows of his young soul, carving a path that no boardroom, no title could erase. He didn't just see himself in the reflection of those shattered dreams. He saw every unheard voice, every sideline story, every system stacked against the hopeful. And in that recognition, something shifted. This wasn't about revenge. It was about transformation. A vow whispered in the shadows of airport terminals that one day he would not just walk through those gates, he would change the gates themselves. Years later, that boy, bruised but unbroken, would rise not as a victim but as a visionary. The CEO with a mission carved from his own scars, to dismantle the invisible barriers, to rewrite the rules that once confined him. Today, when he stands before the very company that once cast him aside, it's more than business. It's personal. It's the culmination of a journey fueled by injustice and powered by resolve. This is not just a story of a man who made it. This is the story of a man who refused to be made small, and in doing so, vowed to make a world where no one else would have to. Underneath the gleaming surface of the airport's bustling terminals, something unseen was unfolding, an operation cloaked in shadows, where silence held more weight than words ever could. The CEO, a man cloaked in both power and quiet desperation, had embarked on a clandestine mission few could imagine. Behind polished glass and steel beams, cameras and microphones had been woven like invisible threads into the fabric of the airport and airline itself. This was no ordinary surveillance. It was a secret symphony of observation, a carefully orchestrated act of revelation. As the CEO and his inner circle peered into glowing screens, the air thickened with a mixture of dread and determination. Each frame flickered with raw, unfiltered glimpses, fragments of truth that had long been buried beneath layers of politeness and protocol. Staff moved through their routines unaware, voices caught in moments of candid exchange, whispers dripping with bias and exclusion. The cameras captured more than just faces. They captured fractures in a system thought to be flawless. Then, the pivotal moment emerged, a quiet yet seismic shift. Words spoken with cold finality, "You need to leave." The sting of dismissal, the sharp cut of authority, all laid bare in pixelated clarity. The CEO, watching remotely, felt the weight of systemic barriers pressing against him like an invisible tide. This was no isolated incident. It was a tapestry of discrimination woven deep into the everyday workings of the company. Behind the scenes, a different kind of choreography played out. Secret meetings, hushed voices in dimly lit rooms, strategies drawn and redrawn like maps of resistance. The CEO's team wasn't just gathering evidence. They were piecing together a story of resilience and reckoning. Every frame, every soundbite, was a thread pulling tighter the fabric of accountability. This was more than surveillance. It was a revelation, a mirror held up to the hidden truths that thrive in silence. As the layers peeled back, the tension grew, an electric current sparking through the unseen veins of power. What do you think? Does the truth always find a way to surface, no matter how deep it's buried? Share your thoughts below. Let's uncover this story together. In the vaulted chambers where power breathes and shadows speak, a clandestine accord was forged, one that would unsettle the very skies we traverse. The CEO, a figure draped in quiet menace and cunning, harbored a secret far too explosive for the daylight. A covert alliance with a rival airline, sworn not to competition but to revolution. This was no mere business handshake or fragile truce. It was a calculated gambit, an audacious design to upheave the stagnant airways dominated by complacency, bias, and obsolescence. Behind closed doors, amid swirling smoke and whispered intent, the CEO and his rival partners orchestrated a symphony of disruption, plotting to fracture the old guard and ignite a transformation that would ripple through every terminal, every flight path. Strategic councils convened in tension-soaked silence. Every word weighed like gold and every pause crackled with peril. The stakes? Monumental. Risk balanced precariously against reward, as if a misstep might doom the entire vision or crown them the architects of a new era. And then, the infamous "get out" incident, misunderstood as mere personal grudge, yet in truth, a masterstroke of business theater. A chess move designed to expose the rot festering beneath polished facades and curated smiles. This was not vengeance but calculated upheaval, a seismic jolt aimed at dismantling an airline culture riddled with prejudice and outdated dogma. The alliance, veiled in secrecy, whispered a promise: the fall of the old to birth the new. A radical reimagining of what it means to soar, not just across continents but through the corridors of power, equity, and innovation. In this shadow play of allegiance and ambition, the sky was no longer the limit, it was the battleground. And only those who dared to disrupt could hope to dominate the horizon. In the heart of the boardroom, a storm was gathering, silent, electric, and utterly unstoppable. The CEO, eyes sharp as a hawk's, stood before the airline's top brass, clutching the irrefutable. No whispers, no shadows, just cold, hard truth captured by a silent witness, the surveillance. It wasn't just evidence, it was a reckoning. A breathless silence fell over the room, heavier than steel. The air itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the verdict. Then, with a voice carved from iron and fire, the CEO unleashed the thunder. Every last soul entangled in the web of discrimination was shown the door. No hesitation. No mercy. But this was only the opening act. A new decree rose from the ashes of complacency, shimmering with promise and defiance. Retraining, yes, but not the stale, checkbox kind. This time, the teachers would be the unheard, the overlooked, the very souls who had been pushed to the margins. Diverse voices, untethered perspectives, rewriting the rules of the game. Shock rippled through the ranks, denial, disbelief, a cocktail of resistance simmered beneath the surface. Some clenched their jaws, others averted their gaze, but a quiet current of reluctant acceptance began to seep in, threading its way through the fracture lines. Change was no longer a distant idea. It was a living, breathing revolution, and the airline would never be the same again. The world didn't just hear about the CEO's move, it felt it ripple through the very air we breathe. Headlines exploded, whispers turned into roars, and the media devoured every fragment of the drama like a ravenous beast. This wasn't just another corporate shakeup, it was a seismic tremor in the skyways of power. Some hailed it as a visionary strike, a bold, almost rebellious act that dared to rewrite the rulebook. A few voices echoed admiration, praising a leader who refused to bow to convention, who shattered glass ceilings with the force of a hurricane. But shadows loomed. Others saw a power play soaked in arrogance, a gamble that risked everything on a dice roll no one was sure would land right. Critics sharpened their tongues, painting the CEO as a tempest of hubris, chasing ego at the cost of stability. Meanwhile, the air above and beyond began to shift. A rival airline, once a quiet player in the shadows, seized the moment with the hunger of a predator sensing weakness. Market share shifted like tectonic plates. Suddenly, the competitor's wings spread wider, their engines roaring louder, ready to claim the skies. The original Titan, once untouchable, now faced a crucible of survival. Pressure mounted like a storm cloud ready to burst, forcing a reckoning, evolve or face the abyss. Across the globe, corridors of the airline industry pulsed with urgency. Boardrooms buzzed, analysts recalibrated forecasts, and executives scrambled to decode what this meant for their own empires. What began as a single, incendiary act spiraled into a worldwide maelstrom. Policies that once seemed untouchable came under ruthless scrutiny. Traditions, once sacred, now trembled on the edge of transformation. The fallout wasn't just about one airline, it was a catalytic explosion, reshaping the very architecture of an industry. The skies had changed, and so had the game. Every flight, every ticket, every decision carried the weight of a new era born from this moment of upheaval. The CEO's gamble had rewritten the narrative of flight itself, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the shadowed corridors of history, where echoes of injustice often linger, emerges a figure who defied the currents of despair, a CEO who transformed the sting of racism into a forge for revolution. This isn't a tale of simple triumph. It is a symphony composed of raw, personal anguish interwoven with razor-sharp strategy and relentless business genius. From the ashes of marginalization, a phoenix rose, not merely to soar, but to reshape the very skies themselves. Imagine a journey where every scar tells a story, where every setback carved out a new blueprint for change. This is a narrative that pulses with grit and vision, a testament that power is born not only from wealth or influence but from the courage to confront pain and wield it as a catalyst for transformation. It's a reminder that behind every boardroom and balance sheet, there are battles fought far from the spotlight. But what if I told you this seismic shakeup in the airline world is just the beginning? The ripples are spreading, the tides are shifting, and the story is far from over. The question now isn't just about what was changed, it's about what you're going to do next. Change, as we've seen, often arrives cloaked in the unexpected, carried on the shoulders of those who dared to rewrite their destiny. So I leave you with this. In the vast tapestry of upheaval and renewal, what role will you claim? Will you be a silent witness, or the spark that ignites the next wave? If this story moved you, if it sparked a fire or opened your eyes to new possibilities, don't just let it sit here. Like this video, subscribe for more stories that challenge the ordinary, and share this with friends who believe in the power of change. Together, let's watch this revolution unfold. Stay tuned, because the skies are only beginning to change.